Welcome back to Sudha's Max. In today's video, we are going to discuss about from class 7, chapter number 7, congruence of triangles. What is congruent figures? The congruent figures are nothing but if you take any two figures which is having exact same shape and size, then we will say that those two figures are congruent. For example, if you see these two pens are having the same size and it is having the same shape, then we am going to say that these two pens are incongruent. And if you take these two scales are having in same shape. These two are in rectangle, and these two rectangle in shape are having the same length. I will say that these two scales are incongruent. So if you're talking about in geometry, that is in 2D and 3D shapes, there are so many congruent figures are there. Suppose if I am taking a circle with the same radius, these two circles are congruent with each other. How we are going to say these two circles are congruent with each other? Suppose if I am taking this circle and I am superimposing on it, it exactly overlap with each other without giving any space, then we will say that these two circles are congruent with each other or congruent circles. Got it? What is the meaning of congruent? Suppose if I am taking this circle and this circle, my right hand circle is bigger one when compared to my left hand circle. I am not going to say that these two figures or these two circles are congruent. Why? When I am superimposed or I am keeping one upon time, they are not exactly overlapping with each other. So we are seeing some extra space here because these two are having different radius. So we are not saying that these two circles these two figures are congruent, but these two are similar figures. So point to be noted that what is the difference between the similarity and what is the difference between the congruent. There is a slight difference between the similarity and congruence. So in similarity, the shapes are same. This is a similar figure, but this is not the congruent figure. So the first point, similarity, shapes are same, but incongruence, shapes as well as size are also equal. Then only we will say that these two figures are congruent in nature or congruent figure. This is the first basic difference between the similarity and congruence. For example, I am having one more circle here. Whether these two circles are congruent figure or similar figure, please comment in my comment section. These two figures, these are brown circles, are similar figures or congruent figure. Please make a note and do comment in my comment box. Now, these are these two squares. These are two squares. If I am superimposing on one upon on, these two are exactly overlapping with each other without giving any space. So, I am saying that these two squares are congruent figure. Now, you got to know about what is the difference between the similarity and the congruency and what are the congruent figures. Then the symbolic representation of congruences. This is the symbolic representation of congruence. When two figures are congruent, we will say that this is the symbolic representation of congruence. Now, moving forward, we will discuss few more things on congruent. The first one is the line segment. What is a line segment? A line segment is having the two end points. It is a line which is having the two end points. It is called the line segment. When we are going to say that the given two line segments are congruent with each other, for example, I am having one line segment, name it as AB. Suppose it is having the 2 centimeter. And I am having one more line segment, name it as suppose PQ. It is also having the 2 centimeter. Then I am going to say that the two line segments are congruent when if they are having the same length. That is AB bar is equal to 2 centimeter and PQ bar is also having the 2 centimeter. Then I am going to say that AB bar is congruent to PQ bar. These two line segments are congruent figures. Then when we are going to say that the two angles are congruent, when they measures the same angle, we will say that these two angles are congruent in figures. So the next one is angles. When suppose this is, we know that the angles are having two arms making an angle. Suppose this angle I will take it as 30 degrees. We have to name them. So I am saying this is A and this is B and this is the C. And take one more angle. This is the one more angle. So this is also 30 degrees. I can say that P, Q and R. So while we are using the angles here, check the angles whether they are having the same angles or not. So if you see here, this is having 30 degrees and it is also having the 30 degrees. So we will say that angle ABC is congruent. So I am using the symbol here, congruent symbol, is equal congruent to PQR. How much? 30 degrees. So we will say that angle ABC is congruent to PQR. So these are the congruent angles. Then any two figures you can take that, but make sure that that should having the equal shape and size, and when we are superimposing on each other, and it should be overlap with each other, not giving any extra space, then we will